for peak demand type scenarios. Like what are some of those key scenarios and
Yeah,
what
like the
yeah,
typical, let's say, let's start first by the typical short duration storage. I mean,
yeah,
mostly when you have like a 2 hour duration storage, it's basically because you have, I mean, you want to take advantage of the energy arbitrage.
hmm,
So that's basically like a peaker where when you charge the battery at low prices or where the load is low, and then you discharge the battery later during the afternoon when the sun is down and when the
prices are high.
demand picks up. So that's basically, so that difference on the energy is what they call is what we call the energy arbitrage, and it's one of the most important revenue streams in some markets.
Yeah.
There's also some um, grid services which are called ancillary services in most of the, and they are basically all over the place, where you basically provide frequency regulation. You basically stabilize the grid. And we see that in PJM, in ERCOT, CAISO.
There's a name for that. It's like a VPP monetization or like not demand charge, obviously, but it's like on demand providing that extra frequency to the grid, and you make a big chunk of money for providing a ton of voltage for a really short period of time, right?
Exactly.
What's the term for? I thought there was a term for that. I forget what that term is.
Like, I mean, the scarcity events,
Yeah, yeah.
like for instance, in ERCOT, there's some situations where the system finds like the margins between the supply and the demand when they get too low. They
Mhm.
call that like a scarcity event or a scarcity
Yeah,
condition. And at
yeah.
that point, batteries and others can take advantage of that situation. And you can really make a lot of money just
And
during a short period of time.
that type of revenue that the battery asset owner makes has a specific term to it too, I thought. Or maybe I can't remember that term. Like it's called a certain kind of revenue to the battery owner. Or maybe it's just called scarcity event revenue or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are some other types of monetization techniques for battery energy storage systems?
Let's say there's other applications, like for instance, where there's ways to add value with storage, like transmission deferrals. It applies more to long duration storage in most cases,
Hmm.
where the utility sees that instead of investing on a transmission line, for instance, which is, I mean, those projects could be expensive, could have some effects in terms of the environment. It can take long for in terms of permitting, developing, construction, and everything. So sometimes just by adding a battery storage, you can avoid or defer that construction. That's one way to add value. There's some peaker plants like simple cycles or coal power plants that right now I mean, they are seeing difficulties to operate. I mean, they cannot compete with solar or wind or with wind in some cases. So now they have been operating mostly as peaker plants. So just like at moments where they are really needed. And what they're seeing is that BESS in these situations can provide that capacity or that and that energy that those peaker plants have been providing. So that's another possibility, which is compete for energy and compete for capacity in some markets. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some states that have initiatives to decarbonize and have some plans already online to future retirements. That's also a niche for us, like finding those locations where we can replace a fossil fuel power plant that is about to get retired
Yeah.
in the future.